We believe, Don and I, that everybody has a job to do, everybody does their job, and everything will work out well. And George is an important part of that team.
Well, Charcy, I think Chavez has joined the nation's elite among jockeys. And John Ward, there were a lot of questions, a lot of people second-guessing him before the Derby. But, you know, he knew what was right for his horse.
Well, there's no guidebook for horse trainers. It's purely intuitive, and the good ones just treat each one as an individual and know what that horse needs. And that's what John Ward has done, and he hasn't swayed from his plan.
Interestingly, John said, next year maybe I'll come to the Preakness again with a different horse and train him completely differently, just matching the horse. Well, of course, if it's a Triple Crown race, it must be Baffert time. There's that cell phone. It's almost attached to him constantly. He'll be trying to make it 3 Preakness wins over the last 5 years today, the same situation he faced in the Derby. At Churchill Downs, Baffert was confident with 2 highly regarded horses, but at the end of the day, he felt the rare sting of disappointment.
Point Given was probably the biggest disappointment. You know, we're all sort of puzzled by his effort. It's a tough pill to swallow, but that's what makes the Derby so exciting, is that you never know what's going to happen. Not only, you know, the best horse doesn't win the race, it's the horse that has the best racing luck that's ready that day, and that's what happened.
Expectations were high for race favorite Point Given and veteran jockey Gary Stevens seeking his 4th Derby win.
Sometimes they just don't show up, and he obviously didn't show up today.
Gary probably took him out of his game and put him a little bit closer to pace, thinking he was in a good spot. But I think he didn't want Congaree to get away from him, so maybe the strategy, you know, cost me the race. I don't know.
Point Given's performance is still a mystery to Stevens, Baffert, and everyone else. But one thing is for sure, Gary Stevens hasn't lost his confidence in the horse, and again will be aboard Point Given despite that 5th place finish in the Derby.
Probably the best race of all the horses, and he proved Derby Day that he is as good as I always thought he was.
Here at Pimlico, Congaree attempts to improve on his 3rd place Derby performance, but with a new rider, 2-time Preakness winner Jerry Bailey.
I've never ridden him in a race, but historically I've probably ridden horses the first time as good or better than I ever ride them. And my theory is that horses run the best the way they want to run.
If there's going to be an advantage for any horse, it would probably be Congaree.
And live from the jockey's room, Jerry Bailey getting a little scouting report on Congaree, gives us the thumbs up.
Get my hairy side.
All slicked up and ready to go in his McNair silks.
This guy has more hair, and all slicked up.
It was reported that Bailey passed up a mount on Congaree in the Wood Memorial to ride Heroes Tribute Award horse in the Bluegrass Stakes, but now on Congaree for the Preakness. Here are the odds. Marciano at 40, Mr. John 18, Griffinite 50-1, AP Valentine, the Zito horse 8-1. Congaree is at 7-2 under Jerry Bailey. Richly Blended 16-1, Monarchos 5-2, Percy Hope 45, Bay Eagle a big long shot at 80, Dollar Bill 7-1, and Point Given once again is the favorite. He's 2-1 for the Preakness.
Introducing the new 200 horsepower Chrysler Sebrings. Sedan, convertible, and coupe. They beg to be driven.
On the brink of war.
Stand by to die.
59 Americans manned a sub to save a nation.
Take her off, the engine rooms are flooding.
Now, they must be saved.
I will be crushed.
Sam Neill in the real story of the only successful submarine rescue.
We're going to get all of you off of here.
Submerged, NBC Sunday.
Don
Dodge Ram has inspired considerable change in pickups. And it's been the inspiration for change among pickup owners as well. In just 4 years, more than 1 million households have switched to Dodge trucks. It seems when the owners of those other trucks get a good look at Ram, they begin to see things differently. Now get up to $2,000 cash allowance or low APR financing on Dodge Ram.
WGRZ.com, your link to news and features that matter to you.
Need to know if the weekend weather is going to cooperate with your plans? Just click here and find out.
Is it a real deal or a ripoff? Log on to WGRZ.com and I'll let you know.
We're also your source for medical updates and health reports to keep your family safe.
The Bills, Sabres, everything sports, get it all here.
WGRZ.com is Channel 2 News on your side.
Channel 2 News, Mike Corbin on your side.
Back at Pimlico and live in the jockey's room, there's John Court getting set to ride in his first Triple Crown race. He'll be on Percy Hope for the second time. He won the Lone Star Derby with him last time, a Florida native who admired Bill Shoemaker growing up, the great one. There are the odds as we check them out. Congaree now at 3-1. Monarco still at 5-2, and the favorite continues to be Point Given. He's at 2-1. You'll notice Dollar Bill there is a 7-1 shot. Well, at the Derby, Monarcos and Jorge Chavez had to survive a claim of foul lodged by John Velasquez, who was on Invisible Ink, the second-place finisher. But here at the Preakness, another Derby incident has taken center stage. It involves a horse that makes you think of money and a jockey in pink silks. It's less than a 2-hour chartered flight for the horses traveling from Kentucky to Maryland, but it must have been a long trip for Dollar Bill. His run for the Roses ended in 15th place, a finish that begs the question, why even come to the Preakness?
We went around the first turn pretty nice, was just off of Monarco's hip. He was starting to get his feet up under him and was getting over the ground well.
A good start was good news because the past had not always been so kind for horse and jockey.
He ran into a bit of a problem in the Louisiana Derby. He bumped with an outside horse, and when he did, I was forced to take up drastically. In the Bluegrass, he was setting on go, ready to break. The horse next to him kicked the doors. He was never really enthused, never really into the game after that.
Could trouble loom again at the Derby?
All of a sudden, out of the blue, somebody broadsided me from the inside, and I wasn't sure who that was or what it was.
I'm claiming the ball! I'm claiming the ball! This ain't no good. I got nobody specific, but I want him to look at it.
Stewards reviewed Day's claim, but since all the horses involved were far back, there was no reason to change the order of finish. But jockey and trainer Dallas Stewart still wondered what happened.
Just got sandwiched right off.
Looking at the replay there, it certainly appears that Keats stopped suddenly.
Right there, right there. See, right there.
It just took up whatever space would have been there for me. Keats just ran out of gas, you know what I mean? If you can imagine running down the interstate at 65 or 70 miles an hour and all of a sudden the car just stops in front of you. I mean, everybody's trying to avoid them.
The wrong spot at the wrong time.
So Dollar Bill's journey to Maryland is actually a chance at redemption for a horse who on Derby Day was the second favorite at post time.
I dare say that he won't be the second choice in this field here, but I don't pay any attention to the tote board, and he can't read it, so we'll just let that slide.
Well, Dollar Bill is still getting some support. Dallas Stewart in there putting the bridle on him. That's a live shot of the stall for Dollar Bill. All the trouble he's had is a wonder the van bringing him from the airport didn't have a wreck. hoping for a clean trip in the Preakness today. Well, one way to avoid trouble if you have the horse is to go to the front like Seattle Slew did in the Preakness in 1977. Since Sir Barton in 1919, there's always been at least one Triple Crown winner alive, despite 20-plus year gaps through some of the decades. It's been 1978 since Affirmed won the Triple Crown, and when he passed away in January, it left only Seattle Slew.
He was the best of the best.
Seattle Slew has moved up along the inside. At the finish, it's going to be Seattle Slew coming to the wire.
He's Muhammad Ali. He's Michael Jordan.
They're coming on the turn with Seattle Slew still the leader.
Slew wins the Preakness by a length and a half.
He had pizzazz. He had star quality.
Seattle Slew, and he's drawing clear of the field. Seattle Slew opens it to 4 lengths.
When he won the Triple Crown undefeated, he'd done something that no other horse had done. He's always just had such heart and such courage. All we had to do was look after him.
Bought as a yearling for just $17,500, Karen and Mickey Taylor have been looking after Seattle Slew since 1975. At 27 years old, Slew is now a senior citizen who's forever influenced his sport and all those around him.
Slew is become an institution in the thoroughbred breed. He has in fact passed on his qualities to more colts and fillies than the Secretariat did.
Seattle Slew was not an expensive yearling purchase. I mean, he was really a bargain. And who would have ever guessed that Seattle Slew would not only win the Triple Crown, but just go on to be such a tremendous stallion. He's just been one of the great success stories in the history of thoroughbred racing.
But last year, Slew's story nearly ended.
On January 13th of 2000, the rider was walking out on Slew and something didn't feel right. He had a pinched nerve in his spine, and we did surgery to correct that situation. It was touch and go there for a few weeks as to whether we were going to save the horse.
He was so athletic and so proud of himself. You know, he had a tough time walking.
I promised him that if he made it, we'd stick it out with him. And I told him to fight hard, and we'd all be a team.
If you saw him a year ago today, everyone gave up on him. But to see him fight through that, it just gives you a pleasure to be with him.
Not all horses would have been brave enough to stand up to that kind of trauma and come through it successfully. It's really a great tribute to the horse himself.
He is the best of the best. And, you know, who knows? You know, he might outlast me.
And there's a look at one of Slew's grandsons, A.P. Valentine, who's in the Preakness today. And thanks to that spinal fusion surgery, Slew still successfully breeding mares. 17.5, the investment. He's generated hundreds of millions of dollars in stud fees, sales of offspring, and earnings. Seattle Slew, the only living Triple Crown winner. Will there be another one after this year? That's Monarchos getting a pre-race bath. He's the second choice at 5-2 for the 126th Preakness.
Hello? No, I can't save you money on car insurance. You want Geico, not Gecko. Well, that's uncalled for.
Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. At Geico, we get the ball rolling on your claim quickly. Even in the middle of the night. Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I like this one and that one, Daddy.
You have to pay the man for the rabbits now. Can I write a check?
Have to see some ID.
Okay.
Have to call us in.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Daddy.
Have to see a second ID.
Okay.
This doesn't look like you. Date of birth. Have to call me. this in.
Next time, use the Visa check card instead of cash or checks. It'll get you in, out, and on with life.
Mother's maiden name?
When the kids moved out, the Knapps were ready to make a move of their own. That's where a Prudential real estate professional came in, with expert guidance, smart technology, and worldwide exposure for their home. Tap the strength of the Rock in real estate.
Some experiences stay with you, like the feeling of driving the new Chrysler Sebring convertible. With a 200 horsepower V6 engine and race-inspired suspension, it's an exhilarating experience that lingers. Now, well-qualified returning Gold Key lessees can lease the Sebring LX convertible for $329 a month.
Why is all that lettuce sitting there rotting?
Wrong grade.
So what do?
Call and fax our buyers, billing, the distributor. They call and fax each other, get back to me maybe tomorrow.
You know, we have rooms full of computers to solve that kind of problem.
Be nice if I had a way to use them here.
Compact Wireless Access Solutions. We're putting the power of your IT infrastructure in the hands of your people.
NBC Monday, 9/8 Central. A special celebrity weakest link.
Check it out! You're the weakest link, you're super weekend, yo. Rob, do you still think I'm sexy?
Yes.
Good, because I still think you're stupid.
A special celebrity edition of Weakest Link, Monday, 9/8 Central on NBC.
Goodbye.
Jockeys weighing out in preparation for the Preakness. There's Chavez. They each have to carry 126 pounds. None of them weigh that much, Gary Stevens included, but they'll put slabs of lead and a pad underneath the saddle to bring them up to the 126 pounds. What a great weekend this is at NBC for sports. The Preakness today, followed by Game 1, the highly anticipated Western Conference Series between the San Antonio Spurs and the LA Lakers, and then the most magical words in American sports, Game 7. Coming up tomorrow, ×2, Toronto, Philadelphia, and Charlotte, Milwaukee. Great weekend of NBA coming up on NBC, including the Spurs and Lakers following the Preakness today. Well, the horses are beginning to gather. Saw the odds update, and the horses soon will be making their walkover from the stakes barn to join us to be saddled out on the turf course in front of the stands. Right now, let's go back to Bob Costas with a very special Maryland guest.
Well, that's right, Tom. We're very pleased to be joined by one of the most esteemed figures in the history of broadcasting, Jim McKay, who covered so many horse races and just about everything else. The Olympics, and the list is too long to go through here. A native Marylander, as Tom Hammond mentioned, and you have been here at this very spot so many times.
Yeah, I think 1977 was the first one for my network, ABC.
You're allowed to say that.
Yeah, as you know, I've been for 40 years. 1977, Seattle Slew. But my first Preakness, I hate to admit it, really, was 1948, Citation.
I missed that.
It was a local show, and it was on TV. I remember a great many of them, of course. Sunday Silence and Easy Goer, greatest horse race I ever saw anywhere. And then was one involving an old Maryland trainer named Henry Clark, and this is a real tradition story because his grandfather had won the Preakness. He had never won it in his 50-year career as a trainer. He always had the same barns here until he died in his 90s, but finally had a horse, he thought. Linkage was his name. He would have been the favorite in the Derby, but Henry passed the Derby to run in the Preakness. The most important thing in his life. And this was a wonderful horse, Linkage. He brought in Bill Shoemaker to ride him from California. Bill had flown overnight to get here. He did not know that the day before, many winners had been on the rail. It was an 18-year-old jockey named Cowboy Jack Cannell, who had ridden every race the day before, and he knew, and he was riding a local horse called the Lomas Ruler, and he beat Bill Shoemaker and broke Henry Clark's heart.
Who do you like today?
I like Monarchos again. You know, I really did pick him 2 weeks ago. I don't think I ever picked a winner on television, but I had him 2 weeks ago.
Way to go.
I like him again.
Look forward to seeing you at the Olympics in February.
Thanks, Bob. Great seeing you.
All right, Jim McKay, folks. Let's go back to Tom Hammond.
Thank you, Bob. As the horses begin to gather to make their walk over to be saddled for the Preakness, and the jockeys posing for their official group photo before the Preakness, just as they did before the Kentucky Derby 2 weeks ago. And Chavez getting a little tap on the back of the head from Jerry Bailey. He hopes that's the only time that happens today. There's a look at Monarchos, and Chelsea, we are used to seeing now that special piece of equipment that runs right down from his forehead to his mouth. What is that?
It's actually made of white rubber. It's called a Sure-Win, and what it does, it lifts the bit in his mouth. Monarchos has a habit of trying to get his tongue over the bit. They tried various nose bands, etc., to stop him. That seems to work the best. They say he's got a very athletic tongue. He could get the best of no matter what they put on him, but this one obviously works. You may remember seeing it on Seattle Slew back in the 70s.
And of course, the problem is if they get their tongue over the bit, the jockey loses a lot of control, right?
The power steering goes out because it becomes painful to the horse and they'll fight against it.
So making the walk over with John Ward and Monarchos is Mike Battaglia. Mike?
Thanks, Tom. And John, you said from the start that of the 3 Triple Crown races, the one that worried you the most was the Preakness.
Well, absolutely. It's a longer stretch but tighter turns. I'm a little scared of whether we'll get hung up on our sweep and move, but it's too late to worry. We're on our way over, and we're looking for the big one.
What about instructions to Chavez? Will you tell him maybe to try to move a little bit sooner because of these tight turns?
I talked to George earlier in the day on the cell phone, and we talked about what the weather was like, what the racetrack was like, and he said, "Boss, don't worry, I got it under control."
Now, when we were walking over for the Derby, the emotions were very high. You seem to be very, very loose. Are you a little bit more nervous with one of the favorites today?
No, not really. The Kentucky Derby is such a great win. This would be icing on the cake. So I'm just happy to be here. Everybody's relaxed, and Pimlico's been a wonderful place to run a horse.
Thank you, John Ward. Tom?
All right, now Donna Barton Brothers is with us also today, and she's walking with the trainer of Dollar Bill, Dallas Stewart. Donna?
Dallas, 3 consecutive nightmarish trips behind you. People say you make your own luck. Is it possible for a horse to make its own bad luck?
Well, I don't think so, Donna. We're walking over there. It's a new day. The horse is doing great. He's focused. We'll be ready to go.
After the Derby, you were leaning towards maybe not running back in the Preakness. What changed your mind?
Well, maybe just a good night's sleep. I don't know. We got him back to the track. He felt good. He trained good. He had a good work. Pat's positive on the colt, so here we go.
Dallas, good luck and have a good trip.
Let's get him.
Tom?
That would be a rarity, wouldn't it? Dollar Bill 7-1 currently on the odds. Well, Point Given is famous for his antics. Bob Baffert says he's playful, not mean, but he's a handful in the morning. He's a huge horse, and sometimes he gets a little rambunctious with his morning antics. And there's a look at A.P. Valentine and Nick Zito, and here is Point Given.
He knuckles. See, he trips on his toe a little bit, and when he goes down, he says, "Okay, here's an excuse to pay. Get him, cowboy." And this is what he does. Now, watch the exercise rider. He's got to keep his weight forward, keep his hands around his neck. The fear is if you hit him in the mouth at this point, they'll fall over backwards on top of you. It's an awful feeling because once they start that, you can't really stop them until they're good and ready. And he does this fairly frequently.
That was Friday morning, and Bob Baffert running over to make sure Point Given is okay. And right now with Bob Baffert is Bob Newmeyer. Bob?
Trainer of 2 of the big 3 in today's Preakness. Charles showed that Point Given acting up yesterday. Most of the horses saddling on the turf today, Bob, you choose to inside because of the skittish nature of Point Given?
Yeah, basically for him, Congaree, he's a sweetheart. But the thing about Point Given, when he gets he gets a little anxious in there, and I don't want him to be
giving us a little serenade back there.
Exactly there. He's tipping him off. He says, "Go to the window." But he's the kind of horse that, you have to wear these dress shoes and he'll break my toes, and he's got a better chance of doing it on the turf course.
We're not even cueing him for that sound. It's terrific, good stuff. How do you explain the lousy race in the Derby?
Well, I think we have our theories, and we'll find out today the way they run. I think he'll run much better this time. I don't know what it was, but we thought we might have figured things out about the horse, whether he was too close or whatever, but we'll find out today.
So Point Given and Congaree to be saddled by Bob Baffert in today's Preakness Stakes. Tom?
All right, and once again, Point Given, the 11, that's the outside post. And one thing Baffert said this week, he says, this time, one thing we'll do differently, we're going to keep an eye on Monarchos. That's what we're doing right now. He's on his way to be saddled on the turf course in front of the grandstand. Be right back.
The Preakness Stakes is brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of the Visa Triple Crown.
Welcome to the Preakness Stakes, the second leg of the Visa Triple Crown. The anticipation is building as Monarchos prepares to continue his run as the first Triple Crown champion in 22 years. If he enters the winner's circle today, Monarcos will be one step away from winning Visa's $5 million bonus, racing's largest payday. As the exclusive card of the Visa Triple Crown, we're proud to partner with NBC Sports and Thoroughbred Racing. Thank you, and enjoy the race.
On the brink of World War II, 59 Americans were trapped hundreds of feet down.
Oh my God! The engine rooms are flooding!
Only one man could save them.
I've got a boat to bring up.
Based on the real story, TV Guide is calling it heroic and suspenseful. Sam Neill.
Don't do this. These men will die.
Submerged, NBC Sunday.
The New York Lotto jackpot is now $3 million. You may think it's not worth playing for $3 million, but $3 million is one huge check. But there is one problem with the check this big. Signing it.
The New York Lotto jackpot is now $3 million. Play today.
On the brink of war,
Stand by to dive.
an American submarine prepared for battle.
Captain, take her off. The engine rooms are flooding.
But they never prepared for this. Heroic is suspenseful, says TV Guide.
We got 36 hours before this ship is attuned.
Jurassic Park's Sam Neill.
We're gonna get all of you off of here.
Based on the real story of the greatest submarine rescue in American history.
I've got a boat to bring up.
Submerged, NBC Sunday.
Channel 2 News, Mike Latella on your side.
A look at some of the Preakness horses and their handlers making their way up the track and heading to be saddled, most of them to be saddled on the turf course, except we think for number 11, that's Point Given, who will be saddled in the indoor saddling paddock. And Congaree, there's Bob Baffert, the trainer of Point Given and Congaree. Point Given, like he was in the Derby, is the favorite here at the Preakness, 2-1. And he reigns as the favorite once again. Well, Charles, see, a couple of weeks ago when we were enjoying a very glorious Kentucky Derby day, there was an insidious epidemic underway in Kentucky. It's affecting the foals. It's causing a lot of aborted foals and stillborn foals, and nearly 500 of them so far have been reported. It's really become a serious problem.
It's a terrible epidemic. It's caused by toxins in the grass. There's not really any definite cause right yet. Other than that, nobody really knows quite what to do. Any breeder who loses a foal has a terrible loss. But Arthur Hancock recently reported that Angel Fever, the dam of Fusaichi Pegasus, lost her foal by the country's leading sire, Stormcat. So you can see the the financial and emotional ramifications of this. This is a terrible situation, and we're going to see the end of this for several years.
I was talking to Dr. Larry Bramlage, and he told me it looks like about 25% of the crop will be affected when it's all said and done, and the losses will be somewhere in excess of $225 million. But a happier time here at the racetrack today as we gear up for the 126 Preakness Stakes. And let's check the odds with Marciano, one of the local favorites, at 40-1. Mr. John, 19-1. AP Valentine, 9. Congaree holding at 3-1. Richly Blended, 17. Monarcos at 2-1 now. He was 5-2, so he's gone down a half a notch to 2-1. 7-1 on Dollar Bill, and Point Given also at 2-1, although more money has actually been bet on Point Given than on Monarcos. So on the board, co-favorites, but actually Point Given is a slight favorite in the amount of money bet. That's a look at the turf course as we look back toward the grandstand, and a unique aspect of the Preakness is that they saddle the horses for the race out on the turf course, so everyone can get a good look at them. That's Monarcos. You can recognize him by that band across his forehead, and you see the assistant trainer and the groom there with the owners. John Oxley, of course, the Tulsa oil man who also has a farm in Kentucky. And when he came back after winning the Kentucky Derby, they decorated his front gate with bags of nacho chips. Why that? Well, the nickname of Monarcos is Mucho Nachos. Some fan in Florida had given him that name earlier in the year. Bob Baffert inside with his 2 horses, Congaree and Point Given. We'll be saddling them both. And then Jerry Bailey will take over on Congaree and Gary Stevens on Point Given. There they are. The 5 horses Congaree. Jerry Bailey, who already has won 2 races on the undercard at Pimlico today. And there is Jerry Bailey walking with the other jockeys toward the paddock. Jorge Chavez getting last-minute good luck from the other riders. Chavez hoping to take leg 2 of the Visa Triple Crown as he will go postward on Monarcos in the 126th running of the Preakness Stakes from Pimlico.
Some athletes don't care about endorsements. Some athletes don't care how many fans they have or what kind of shoes they wear. Some athletes don't even care if they're televised coast to coast. They just want to run. The Visa Triple Crown takes a lot of heart, but at the ticket booth, the only card they take is Visa, the official card of the Visa Triple Crown.
Yeah, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? Jerry there? Yeah. How you doing? 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 So what's going on?
You don't want to know.
Now, an NBCI surprise event update. All month you've seen these surprise events during the hit show Ed.
Oh my gosh!
A mother reunited with her son she gave up for adoption over 33 years ago. A husband reveal a secret to his wife.
This is our boat.
Maybe he should have kept to himself. And this week, a son flies halfway across the country to give his mom a birthday surprise she'll never forget. But the biggest surprise of all happens this Wednesday during the season finale of Ed at 8/7 Central on NBC.
In our industry, we'll see 8 or 10 major manufacturers shrink to 4 or 5 or 6 in the next 3 to 6 years. My job at Prudential is to help our investors sort out companies converting to digital, what we call e-business models. These companies are going to be the breakaway value creators. Even in a contracting economy, they can sled uphill. We can help our clients at Prudential profit from finding the winners as well as avoiding the losers.
Coming up next, the last 2 NBA champions collide in one of the most anticipated matchups in years. Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and the Spurs face Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and the Lakers. Game 1 of the NBA Western Conference Finals coming up next, immediately following the Preakness on NBC.
They call it Old Hilltop. It's Pimlico Racecourse in Baltimore. Old Hilltop because in its early days there was a rise in the infield where trainers and owners like to gather to watch the races long ago taken down. Marciano at 40-1, Mr. John at 19, and AP Valentine is at 9-1. Congaree still 3-1. Richly Blended has been steadily rising, now 17-1. Monarcos at 2. 7-1 still on Dollar Bill, and Point Given is still 2-1. Well, Mike and Bob rarely agree on anything, but at the Derby they agreed on Point Given. Perhaps that was the problem. Guys, who do you like in the Preakness?
That could have been a problem, but you know what? In the Derby, that pace was ridiculously fast. And Bob, today I would expect to see a considerably slower pace early on.
I think everyone's in agreement on that. Let's break down the horses according to their running styles. And we're going to begin with the speed horses, the horses that we figure to be on the lead, and of course the most noteworthy is Richly Blended. This is a quality horse, folks. He's won 4 out of 5. He should be on the lead. He has a nice tactical advantage. I think he's got a shot to be 1, 2, 3. 2 problems, the distance, obviously, and he's one of these so-called new shooters, horses that did not run in the Derby but are running in the Preakness, and look at those dramatic statistics for the new shooters. 68 starts, only one winner, and that was Red Bullet here last year.
Well, Richly Blended's a quality horse, but he can't get any mile in 3/16. Let's take a look at the stalkers in this race, and of the stalkers, you gotta look at Congaree. Congaree ran a big race to finish third in the Kentucky Derby. As we mentioned, the change of tactics, I think he's going to be taken a little bit back off of the pace. Of the stalkers, I think he's the only one that's dangerous.
And we have a new closer today too, Mike, and we're putting Point Given in the closer column along with Monarchos.
Right, well, Monarchos and Point Given are both solid closers. Monarchos, of course, ran that huge race in the Kentucky Derby. A lot of people said that was because they went the half in 44-4. I disagree. If you go back to the Florida Derby, they ran a half in 46-4. Here you see the Florida Derby. Monarchos is highlighted up there on the outside. You see Chavez going to work. This horse goes from 8th to 1st in less than an 1/8 of a mile, and they were running the half in 46-4. Not terribly fast. Watch this move. Look at Monarchos up on the outside. That was just so terribly impressive to me, and from here on in, he just goes on and he wins the Florida Derby impressively.
Now, in a similar style is Point Given. We say that because the race that best represents the kind of run we think he'll make today is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year at Churchill Downs. That's him now in the middle of your screen in the green and white silks. Just misses to Macho Uno. But with that outside post, we figure he's going to take back and make one run. I'm sticking with him. I'm a loyalist. Mike loved him 2 weeks ago. Let me get this straight. You're off the bandwagon.
I loved him 2 weeks ago, but I really love Monarchos' race, and I've switched. I'm a Monarchos man now. I'm going for Monarchos, but I think Point Given's the one to beat.
What a fickle guy you are. Todd, back to you.
All right, guys, so Point Given and Monarchos, those are the guys that they're talking about. And, of course, you can't tell the riders without a program these days. Here are the rider switches. Jerry Bailey was on the Long Shot Talk His Money in the Derby, now picks up Congaree. Victor Espinosa, who rode Congaree in the Derby, was fired by Baffert. He picks up A.V. Valentine as Nick Zito decides to ride him. And Corey Nakatani, Zito got rid of him on A.P. Valentine. And Corey Nakatani will be rejoined with Mr. John, whom he rode last time. Pat Day is right there in the pink silks of Dollar Bill. And Pat is hoping for a clean trip. So is Corey Nakatani. He'll be back on Mr. John. You mentioned clean trip with Mr. John. He was disqualified in his last start for trouble leaving the starting gate in the Coolmore Lexington Stakes at Keeneland. And this race figures, Charles C., to be a rider's race in a lot of ways because of the nature of the Pimlico racetrack. And the way the pace is going to unfold, it could be, as we say, a riders, jockeys, tactics race.
Well, as our handicappers alluded, Richly Blended is really the only dedicated speed, and while I disagree with Bob Newmeyer, I don't think he's capable of carrying his speed the mile and 3/16. They still have to kind of keep him in some kind of range. I think we'll be looking at both Mr. John and Percy Hope being the closest to him, but judging that pace is going to be very much a factor with these jocks this afternoon.
In the Kentucky Derby, not only was Dollar Bill in trouble, but A.P. Valentine at 2 different points of the race was in trouble. He's trained with the veteran Nick Zito, and Mike is with him.
Nick, this horse has had 9 races, 5 different jockeys. Is he a tough horse to ride, and could that may be the reason he's not as consistent as you would like?
Well, I hope we found the right jock today, Mike. That could be a point you touched on, but that's racing. Sometimes you can't always get the jock you want, and sometimes there's different situations in racing, but I think we'll be okay. I love this kid's attitude. He just, you know, I was giving him instructions. He said, I know, just win. So that's good enough for me.
You can't get any better instructions than that. I know, just win. Tom?
The irrepressible Nick Zito. And there's A.P. Valentine. Earlier, we saw the last living Triple Crown winner, Seattle Slew, but the oldest living winner of a Triple Crown race is Little Current, who won 2/3 of the series in 1974. Little Current, the subject of our Chrysler Preakness moment. The horse of the year in 1974 may be better known for not winning the Triple Crown. Little Current, who fought through intense traffic to finish 5th in the Derby, showed his true strength here at the Preakness, eclipsing the field by 7 lengths. He then went on to win the Belmont by the same convincing margin, and today at 30, he remains the oldest living winner of a Triple Crown race.
People are beginning to think of the automobile not just as a family vehicle, but as a personal and individual means of transportation.
The throb of a powerful engine. Now for a moment, imagine yourself.
In order to continue moving forward, you need to remember where you've been.
At the Chrysler Proving Ground,
Give them an expressway and their drivers are...
I think we make the scenic back roads fun to drive.
I'll give them any country or suburban road, rough or smooth. They're the type of people who like the feel of a flying machine.
Love to drive. The renowned engineers of Chrysler.
Our future reflects our past. It's how we build great cars.
Need a regular firecracker.
The sounds of nature sing their prettiest over the rich, throaty obligato of his engine. And they give you back the romance of driving.
Expectations run high in this family. And now Chrysler PT Cruiser is Motor Trend's 2001 Car of the Year. Away. Polo.com.
You must be hungry. Let's go get some breakfast. Choo, like the Mookos do. Oh, yicky, tressy, wessy. Oopsie, whoopsie. Jumping girl on a swingy wingy. Boo, boo, boo. Is Daddy Waddy home from worky jerky?
When you're in desperate need of a night out, you need Broadway.com and Visa.
How silver.
Wonderful use of iambic pentameter. Whammeter.
Visa, the preferred card of Broadway.com.
$1 billion. That's how much Oracle saved in 1 year using its own e-business software. How much will you save? Oracle. Software powers the internet.
The Preakness Stakes is brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of the Visa Triple Crown. By Budweiser, with a crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. And by Goodyear, serious technology, freedom from worry.
Go. Riders up! Steve McHarg, the paddock judge, with the order of riders up for the Preakness, now some 11 minutes away. Mark Johnston, the long-legged one, aboard Marciano, the one-horse. There's a look at the Derby winner, Monarcos, awaiting Jorge Chavez. And John Ward will give him a leg up. Notice that the assistant trainer and the groom of Monarcos, both females, as John Ward said, Monarcos responds well to the Y chromosome. And now the call to the post from bugler Joe Kelly. Flourish of Joe Kelly as the horses make their way from the saddling area on the turf course onto the dirt of the main track, a mile oval here at Pimlico, and they'll race a mile and 3/16 in the Preakness. And now the traditional singing of Maryland, My Maryland from the U.S. Naval Academy Glee Club.
Remember carols
2026 Preakness Stakes. Number 1, Marciano, local favorite. He won the Tessio Stakes here at Pimlico in his last start, and ridden by Mark Johnston, the 2000 leading Maryland jockey. He's a long shot in the betting, but looking for his second win in a row. Mr. John is the 2 horse, trained by Elliott Walden, who twice has been second in the Preakness with Victory Gallop and Menifee, ridden by Corey Nakatani, who was aboard AP Valentine in the Derby, disqualified in the Lexington in his last start for trouble coming out of the gate. Number 3, Griffinite. Jennifer Lee Peterson, the trainer, the 9th female to saddle a Preakness horse, and ridden by Sean Bridgemahan, the 21-year-old who was the top apprentice in the U.S. in '98. Jose Santos has a broken wrist, or he would have been riding. The 4-horse AP Valentine. Nick Zito trained Louis Quatorze to win the Preakness in 1996. In trouble twice, finishing 7th in the Derby, has Victor Espinoza aboard here at the Preakness. The 5-horse is Congaree. Bob Baffert has won the race twice with Real Quiet and Silver Charm, and Jerry Bailey aboard. 6 is Richly Blended. There he is, expected to be the early pace setter. Won the Wither Stakes Derby Day at Aqueduct. Rick Wilson has ridden him every time at 47, the oldest jockey in the race. Richly Blended has won 4 of 5 career starts, but can he go this far? Monarchos, of course, is the Derby winner. John Oxley, the owner. John Ward, who picked Fusaichi Pegasus, last year's Derby winner, out of the Keeneland sale, and his client paid $4 million for him. There's a look at Mr. John, who's galloping off. Percy Hope, the 8-horse, ridden by John Court, who's riding in his first Preakness, as Dollar Bill, the 10-horse, gallops off under Pat Day. Could be a milestone today for Pat Day. If he wins, it'll be his 6th Preakness victory. That would tie him with the great Eddie Arcaro for the most Preakness wins ever. And a look at Point Given, the favorite under Gary Stevens, as the horse is breaking out of the post parade and warming up. We'll check the odds here. Marciano, he's a son of 2 Punch, by the way, hence the name of the great heavyweight. Mr. John, Griffinite, AP Valentine at 9-1, Congaree at 3, Richly Blended 17-1. Monarchos at 2-1. Percy Hope's taken sort of a lesser route, but he could win $1 million bonus given by Lone Star, where he won their Derby. Bay Eagle, another local favorite. Dollar Bill and Point Given, as Monarchos at 2-1, co-favored with Point Given at the moment. Monarchos will break from the 7 post position right in the middle of the field of 11 when we return.
Big green combine, edgy at the wheel, under a big sky, working in the field, harvesting hops in the early autumn sun, going round the clock until they get it done. This is from the people working hard every day, talking about the folks who get this bud my way. This bud's for you, and you and you and you. This bud's for you, and you and you and you. This bud's from 5 generations passing on their tradition with pride in the craft and pride in the mission. From the brewery crew to the lager-in man, get it to you fast and fresh as they can. This is from the people working hard every day, talking about the folks who get this bud my way. This bud's for you, and you and you and you. This bud's for you.
This is a bucket of water, and this is Goodyear's new and improved AquaTread 3. At higher speeds in a downpour, a set of AquaTread 3 tires pumps away over 6 gallons of water per second. That's over 360 gallons per mile, with its 80,000-mile tread life limited warranty. That's a lot of water. Think about it next time it's pouring buckets. New AquaTread 3.
Serious freedom.
Only from Goodyear.
Goodyear, Goodyear.
One with mustard?
You in a hurry?
Yeah, this is Wall Street, isn't everybody?
Not me. I'm just here for the fun.
I guess you missed the Asian panic.
Nope.
Then I suppose you invested after the '87 crash.
Nope, before.
Then who helps you manage your money?
Those guys.
Mass Mutual. They've been around forever. What are you doing with them?
Oh, just enjoying my money.
Over $200 billion in assets under management. Mass Mutual, the blue chip company.
When Hawaiian sumo legend Konishiki feels like your Asian cuisine, he goes to Indigo. For Italian, it's off to Antipasto's, Macawao Steakhouse for steak, Cha-Cha-Cha Salseria for Mexican, Magoroya for great sushi, and who knows how many restaurants he'll eat at tomorrow night. But no matter where he eats, he'll be paying with his Visa card. Because like so many other great places in Hawaii, these restaurants don't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
And we welcome you back to the Preakness. Much history has played itself out on the Pimlico track. More than 60 years ago, the legendary match race between War Admiral and Seabiscuit. A while back on this telecast, you heard Jim McKay allude to the great Preakness duel between Sunday Silence and Easy Goer in 1989. And while it hasn't quite risen to that level, it does appear that there's a rivalry developing now between the Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos and the Wood Memorial winner Congaree.
A modern-day racing rivalry, Congaree and Monarchos. It began in April. It continues today.
And they're off. Congaree's in front by 3.5 lengths. Monarchos is doing his best, but he's still second best. Congaree to win the Wood. And it is Congaree who is full out. Here comes Monarchos under a heavy drive on the far outside. And Monarchos has won the Kentucky Derby.
The duel has come to historic Pimlico, the Preakness, home to Derby winners and their dreams, the chase for the elusive Triple Crown. It can also be home to redemption. Can Point Given amend his Derby disappointment? Or will his running mate Congaree carry the Baffert banner? Monarchos doesn't see either, with the crown in his sights. As post time approaches for the Preakness, fans crowding toward the rail where they can get a good view of the race itself. Let's check the odds. Mr. John at 19-1, AP Valentine is 9, Congaree at 3-1. Some late money has narrowed the gap between Monarchos and Point Given. They're now virtually even at 2-1, Monarchos and 2-1 Point Given. Don't forget, coming up next here on NBC will be Game 1 of the Western Conference Series, the highly anticipated series between the Lakers and the Spurs, and then 2 Game 7s, NBA Eastern Conference games coming your way tomorrow, all here on NBC. Horses approaching the starting gate. Donna Brothers on horseback has been back there with them. Donna, any problems with any of the horses?
I have not seen any problems with any of the horses. Before the Derby, Gary Stevens said that they try to keep Point Given off by himself. They weren't able to do that in the Derby. It was a short post parade in a very large field. He has been off by himself in most of this post parade, and he seems to be a lot cooler coming out of it. Of course, it is a little cooler day today. Looks like he'll be able to run his better race today than last time.
All right, Donna, any other problems? And give us a reading on the track condition as you're on it firsthand there.
Well, the track is fast. They've done a remarkable job with it. I did talk to Jerry Bailey, and I asked him how he liked his Preakness mount, and he said, no disrespect meant he liked him better than the Derby mount that he had, though. But the track is fast. It looks like it's in good shape, and looks to me like everybody's got the warm-up in that they needed, and no misbehavior. It is a large crowd, and of course a large crowd means a loud crowd, but they've all handled it very well. Bob?
I can't see it.
All right, Donna, and it looks now like Monarchos will be favored. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And John Ward with his wife Donna, Jack and Debbie Oxley, and they all seem very confident, but when they're going in the gate for the Preakness, the nerves have to set in just a little bit, John.
Well, absolutely. You know, I'd be a fool if I wasn't nervous right now, and very hopeful, and you know, we're looking for good things, but we know how disappointing racing can be, but we're happy.
Good luck. Have a great race. Tom?
All right, and there is Monarchos. As we said, the late money has been pouring in on him, and he will be favored over Point Given as Marciano, the local hope under Mark Johnston, heads into the starting gate. This is a single load, unlike what we saw at Churchill Downs. The horses go in by post position order, one at a time. As you see Mr. John go in. Now, the rider on the 3-horse Griffinite is Sean Bridgemahan, and he is off the horse. Charles, did you see what happened?
We did. Griffinite has had a history of difficulty at the gate. He delayed the start before the Lafayette Stakes in Keeneland, which he ultimately won, but they got him in there pretty smoothly, but it looks like they were taking no chances.
Jennifer Peterson said she'd schooled him repeatedly on going into the gate, and he went in sans rider. It's Congaree that goes in now, and they continue to load. Richly Blended expected to show the early speed. A late update on the odds. Monarchos and Point Given virtually even now at 2-1 as Richly Blended goes in. There's the Derby winner, Monarchos. And now to call the 126th running of the Preakness, let's go to Tom Durkin. Tom, Richly Blended had first choice of post positions. He took the middle, post position 6.
It'll be interesting to see what Mr. John does from post position number 2. He's got some early speed, and there's a pretty long run to that first turn here at Pimlico, so he may want to force the hand of Richly Blended, make him run a little bit faster than he wants to win the early going. And there's the hard luck horse of the spring campaign, Dollar Bill and Pat Day. They're moving into post position number 10, and post position number 11 breaking from the outside post as he did in the Derby. There is Point Given ready for the start of the Preakness, and they are off. And Congaree stumbled at the start. Congaree stumbled at the start, and coming smoothly out from the starting gate, it's Richly Blended to take the early lead. Percy Hope has some speed. Congaree's getting back on track, but he's very eager today. And he's coming up now to be second. For the inside, Mr. John now races in third. Percy Hope is rating in fourth. Marciano rides the rails fifth. Then it's AP Valentine, 6 lengths from the lead. He's 6. Dollar Bill is clear of trouble in the early going. He's on the outside, 3 off the rail, running in 7th. Griffinite is 8 toward the inside. Point Given is running along in 9th. Bay Eagle is 10th. And the Derby winner, Monarchos, is last of them all after a quarter that went in 23 4/5 seconds. Monarchos is 14 lengths from the lead. The field begins to run down the backstretch. It's front-running Richly Blended to lead by 2. Jerry Bailey trying to rate the speed of Congaree, second on the outside of Mr. John. The half went, did an honest 47 1/5 seconds. Marciano's 4th toward the inside. Percy Hope long shot alongside him. AP Valentine is asked to run, and he's moving through on the inside. He's only 3.5 lengths from the lead now. And Point Given set up on the outside. There he goes. Point Given, a big move as they move into the far turn. And from the back of the pack, Monarchos is launching his bit with 3.5 furlongs to go. He's drawn within 6 lengths of the lead. They've run 3 quarters in 1, 11 and 1. Congaree and Richly Blended on even terms as they approach the quarter pole. Point Given looms large on the outside. He's right there running in third. Then farther back is Percy Hope. AP Valentine toward the inside. Monarchos is struggling. 7 lengths from the lead. They're at the top of the stretch, and it's Point Given. Point Given who has taken the lead. He is fighting hard with stablemate Congaree. 1-2 at the 8th hole. AP Valentine in with an upset chance. Dollar Bill is coming late. 16th to go. Point Given in front by 2, and he's going to do it. Point Given redeems a disappointing Derby. He was perfect in the Preakness to win by 2 lengths over AP Valentine, then Congaree. Dollar Bill finishes 4th on the outside, followed by Griffinite, and it was a disappointing effort for Monarchos today. He was beaten a half a dozen lengths. The final time was 1:55 2. It was the Point Given we had expected to see in Louisville. Point Given unleashing the move into the final turn, passing horses, first putting away his stablemate Congaree, and then holding off AP Valentine to win the Preakness Stakes. Point Given, despite the outside post, which has been deadly in route races at Pimlico this spring meeting, makes that tremendous move and wins the Preakness Stakes for Bob Baffert. So Baffert has taken 3 of the last 5 runnings of the Preakness as Point Given joins Real Quiet and Silver Charm. In fact, Real Quiet had also broken from post position 11 when he won the Preakness. Once again, there will be no Triple Crown winner as Monarchos finishes up the track here in the Preakness Stakes. He was last, far behind as they went by the stands for the first time. Chavez got him going on the backstretch but did not have enough. Let's go to Donna.
Gary, last week the beaten favorite in the Kentucky Derby. Today you come away as the Preakness winner. How do you feel?
Feel great. I feel like he vindicated himself a little bit today. Believe me, he didn't show up 2 weeks ago for whatever reason, I don't know. We got a very kind racetrack today. He loves it. It's pretty much the same track as when he won the Santa Anita Derby, and he gave me nothing but confidence throughout the races he had in all of his races except for the Kentucky Derby.
So when you look back now, is it easier to explain his loss in the Derby?
No, I still have no idea. Bob and I have discussed it. The only thing I can say, track was a bit hard that day. He's a big, strong horse and hits the ground pretty hard, and probably didn't help him any. But I don't want to give him any excuses, take anything away from Monarchos' race in the Derby. It was a hell of a race, but he showed up today.
And Gary, what about you? Last year, this time you were retired. Today you get your second Preakness winner. How's that feel?
Well, it's a dream come true for me. Prince Ahmed of Saudi Arabia and all the people in Saudi Arabia, I can't say enough. I got a second chance after retirement and ride the best horse that I've ever ridden. It's like I'm in a dream.
Gary, congratulations. Tom, Point Given redeems himself. I'm glad to see him back in good form again.
He did indeed redeem himself. He was the actual favorite in the race by about $4,000 over Monarchos. He joins Easy Goer, Prairie Bayou, Timber Country, and Captain Budget in the last 10 years as both favorites in the Derby and Preakness, but only the second to one, Prairie Bayou and Timber Country, the others. Prince Ahmed Salman, the Thoroughbred Corporation, watching the race in Saudi Arabia, and here was the powerful move as Point Given trying to get out a little bit. You see him running sideways there for a minute. Gary Stevens gets him straightened out. Congaree on his inside has been his biggest challenger, but he begins to fade a little bit. And then it's AP Valentine that comes up on the outside. But it is all Point Given here. Charles, what do you make of that sort of sideways running there in the stretch?
Well, Point Given has stayed on his left lead. He never gets over on his right lead through the stretch, and he sort of, there he goes, he jumps over right there, but he was on his left lead early. He kind of drifted in towards Congaree. Gary had no trouble straightening him right up. He's actually just sort of gawking around. Look at the ears, never lie. Look at those ears. He did this very easily. A nice turnaround for AP Valentine coming up to be second there, and a good late run from Dollar Bill to get fourth. So he finally had a fairly trouble-free trip. But the story is all Point Given today.
Well, a handshake between Baffert and Stevens. You remember the little feature we had on the Point Given connections, and Baffert to sort of mildly blame Stevens for the defeat in the Derby. Said maybe he was a little too close and didn't want to let Congaree get away. Well, today, Stevens did the job. He never lost confidence in his horse, and he rides him to victory in the Preakness. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
With third-place finisher Congaree and jockey Jerry Bailey, an issue at the start of the race, did that kill you, the stumble at the start?
Probably didn't affect the total outcome of the race, but you never want anything to go wrong in these kind of races. But that happens, you know, he broke so hard the ground broke out from under him. He got up, laid about where I thought he would be. He got a little rank going into the first turn and then again the middle of the backside.
Now you settled in a second position behind Richly Blended, had a clear trip from there. Could you hear the big horse rumbling up outside you?
Not only could I hear him, I could see him, you know, and that too I thought would be coming at me. My horse never gave up. He hung in there as well as he could, but he just wasn't quite as good as that other horse today.
So no particular excuse?
Not really.
All right, Jerry Bailey on Congaree here in the Preakness. Mike?
All right, the Baffert horse is running 1-3. Let's go to Mike Battaglia.
Thanks, Tom. And with Jorge Chavez, and Jorge, this horse was so spectacular in the Derby. Today, he just couldn't duplicate it. Was it the pace?
Could be the pace. Was no pace, but you know, it looks like more anything else. My horse don't handle that well the track. You know, I was follow the Point Given. You know, I was like a 2-3 lengths behind him, and I was trying to follow. But when I asked, my horse don't respond. He did try to go, but he was a little bit like fighting with the track, and this Point Given was keep going away, and I was trying to follow, but and my horse definitely he didn't finish like he used to finish.
Did you ask him? Did you want him to get into the race a little bit earlier than normal? Let's take a look over here at the replay. Here's the replay of the race, and it looks like you're really working on Monarchos at this point. Were you getting any response at all?
Yeah, I was trying to get the closest I can, and you know, follow the Point Given, but my horse don't help me, and there's nothing else I can do. You know, I guess the track don't was that well for him, and he was fighting a little bit with the track, but it's happening. It's part of the race, and I guess I got beat today, but we'll see what happens the next step.
All right, George, and here you are finishing up, and the horse just absolutely did not have any kick at all. Even at the end here, were you kind of surprised at that? Their horse is passing you at the end.
Yeah, just like I said, he don't like the track, and you know, but he's a nice horse, and I'm not disappointed in him, but it just happens sometimes in the track. You know, he tried hard he can. You know, I'm happy with the horse, you know, but nothing I can do but the track.
All right, better luck in the Belmont. Jorge Chavez, and gave their best, but there's not going to be a Triple Crown winner this year, Tom.
All right, Mike. Jorge Chavez saying perhaps he didn't like the track, as Monarchos well beaten in the Preakness today. John Ward has said he will go to the Belmont Stakes regardless of what happens today. Point Given, $665, $4. AP Valentine, that late run got him second. Congaree, the show horse, the Exacta, paying $81.40, and the Trifecta, $279. And redemption for Gary Stevens, who had ridden Silver Charm to victory in '97 for Bob Baffert. And for Baffert, he'd taken a lot of flack when Point Given flopped in the Derby. And now he knows it's his. In fact, he sees he's going to finish 1 and 3. Sweet redemption at the Preakness for Baffert, Stevens, and Point Given.
Some athletes don't care about endorsements. Some athletes don't care how many fans they have, or what kind of shoes they wear. Some athletes don't even care if they're televised coast to coast. They just want to run. The Visa Triple Crown takes a lot of heart, but at the ticket booth, the only card they take is Visa, the official card of the Visa Triple Crown.
Check it out.
The next generation Chrysler Town and Country.
You do that?
I saw you did. Let's get out of here.
With power sliding doors and liftgate with an obstacle detection system. Drive one and see why it's the best minivan ever. Now get a $2,000 cash allowance or 0.9% APR financing on Chrysler Town and Country.
You know when you're not feeling like yourself. You're tired all the time. You may feel sad, hopeless, and lose interest in things you once loved. You may feel anxious, can't even sleep. Your daily activities and relationships suffer. You know when you just don't feel right. Now here's something you may not know. These are some symptoms of depression, a serious medical condition affecting over 20 million Americans. While the cause is unknown, depression may be related to an imbalance of naturally occurring chemicals between nerve cells in the brain. Zoloft, a prescription medicine, works to correct this imbalance. When you know more about what's wrong, you can help make it right. Only your doctor can diagnose depression. Zoloft is not for everyone. People taking medicines called MAOI shouldn't take Zoloft. Side effects may include dry mouth, insomnia, sexual side effects, diarrhea, nausea, and sleepiness. Zoloft is not habit-forming. Talk to your doctor about Zoloft, the #1 prescribed brand of its kind. Zoloft. When you know more about what's wrong, you can help make it right.
Putting together a system like this is complicated.
For example, the problems we're having now could be the software.
Or the platform.
Or maybe the network.
You never know until you test them together.
Every e-business installation is like reinventing the wheel.
So let's stop reinventing the wheel.
Compact for e-business. The best partners, complete solutions, pre-configured, stress-tested, and ready to roll in less time than ever before.
Here at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, the long-awaited matchup is center stage. Shaq, Kobe, and the Lakers looking to make it 16 straight wins, while the Twin Towers appear to be relaxed as they prepare for this Western Conference Final Series. Coming up, it's Game 1 between the Lakers and the Spurs. Marv Albert with Doug Collins and Jim Gray will have it for you following the Preakness. Now let's get back to Tom Hammond.
Marv, and here we are back at Pimlico, where Point Given has won the Preakness. Whenever the Goodyear blimp is hovering above with its camera focused on an event, you know you're going to get a unique view. Overhead today, the blimp Spirit of Goodyear, based in Akron, Ohio, world headquarters for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. Here's the complete order of finish as Point Given wins officially by 2 1/4 lengths over AP Valentine. Congaree third, Dollar Bill fourth. Go all the way down to place number 6. Monarcos finishing 6th. The Derby winner 6th and up the track in the Preakness today. And a Preakness tradition, the painting of the weather vane atop the cupola, a replica of the cupola aboard the old members grandstand or members clubhouse, which burned in 1976. Lawrence Jones, the painter, applying the colors, the green and white colors of the Thoroughbred Corporation, the owner of Point Given, Prince Ahmed Salman, a member of the royal family of Saudi Arabia, and Richard Mulhall, the racing manager of the Thoroughbred Corporation. That's the scene in the winner's circle. The MSNBC Cyber Cappers, 26% of them thought the Derby winner would repeat. Point Given drew 23%, so it was pretty close, just as it was in the betting. Gary Stevens winning his second Preakness. He was aboard Silver Chom for Bob Baffert in 1997. The garland of Black-Eyed Susans, they're actually Viking daisies, painted black in the center because the real Black-Eyed Susans, the state flower of Maryland, don't bloom until later in the year here. And Point Given named by Prince Ahmed Salman when he heard someone mention the term Point Given and said, "Stop, that's what I'll name a horse." He was on hand at Churchill Downs for the disappointment, and now half a world away can celebrate a win in the second leg of the Visa Triple Crown. Stevens unsaddling. And while we wait for the official presentation in the winner's circle, Baffert, by the way, a moment ago was on his cell phone talking to the Prince in Saudi Arabia. But while we wait, let's take a look at the isolated replay of Point Given. Just as in the Derby, he breaks from the outside. Bob Baffert thought in the Derby it might be an advantage because stay out of trouble in the 17-horse field. He was going to take back, but today he said it might be a little closer with Point Given. He thought maybe Gary Stevens was too close in the Derby, not wanting them to get away from him against a fast pace. Well, the pace here is slower. He's passing Monarchos just there, but he's next to last as they head by the finish line the first time and into the clubhouse turn. Stevens still has Point Given on the outside and about the four-path now as they come through that turn, and not yet asking him to run. He's got Dollar Bill, number 10 in the pink, just to his inside, the Hard Luck horse, who appeared to have a fairly clean trip today and wound up getting a piece of the purse. Now Point Given beginning to pick off horses one by one. The 3-horse Griffinite to his inside as he goes past. AP Valentine looms on the inside, and he will close in the stretch to get second place, but now Point Given is edging by him to the outside. Stevens has Percy Hope next in his sights, and there's AP Valentine. You see him also start to move as Victor Espinoza decided he better go too if Point Given was going to go, and he moved between horses. But now Point Given still set on the outside and picking him off, as we said, one by one without Gary Stevens really asking him for a whole lot yet. Richly bled to the early pace setter, number 6 on the rail, starting to fade, and Congaree puts his neck in front. His stablemate on the outside, Point Given, and it'll be the two Baffert horses that will battle head-and-head as they come to the top of the home stretch. Congaree's on the inside, Point Given's on the outside, and Point Given, with Stevens shaking him up, refuses to change leads there, turns a little sideways, but Stevens once again gets him straightened out, took a look over both shoulders to make sure he was clear, keeps him about his business with a little friendly tap, and now on the left side and the hand ride to the wire as Point Given is safely clear, giving the type of performance that has been expected of him after winning his 2 races before the Derby and coming home to give vindication in the Preakness. Preakness.com is the website to check for all the information on the 126th running of the Preakness Stakes. And Point Given getting a shower bath from the hose trackside on this hot and humid day. Has to feel pretty good after the run he put in. And looking around as usual, the playful colt who is massive, 200 or 300 pounds heavier than most colts, and a handful for his rivals today as he takes the Preakness under Gary Stevens.
The Preakness Stakes is brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of the Visa Triple Crown, and by Chrysler. We're reinventing the passion for driving.
It's always special when you bring your first one home. Chrysler Voyager, re-engineered and redesigned with dual sliding doors and over 45 standard safety and security features. It's the most affordable minivan you can buy. Now get a $2,000 cash allowance or 0.9% APR financing on Chrysler Voyager.
The new version of Oracle will make your website 3 times faster, or we'll give you $1 million.
What I like about the job is that we provide objective research about companies. Prudential said, in no uncertain terms, if you mean sell and you're saying hold, say sell. If you mean buy and your rating is hold, then say buy. So forget this mealy-mouthed, mumbo-jumbo, political speak type of research. Take a stand, be objective and balanced, and make investors money.
Now, an NBCI surprise event update. All month you've seen these surprise events during the hit show Ed.
Oh my gosh.
A mother reunited with her son she gave up for adoption over 33 years ago. A husband reveal a secret to his wife.
This is our boat.
Maybe he should have kept to himself. And this week, a son flies halfway across the country to give his mom a birthday surprise she'll never forget. But the biggest surprise of all happens this Wednesday during the season finale of Ed at 8/7 Central on NBC.
And now, a message from NASCAR. Moving, moving, moving. Get them NASCARs moving. Moving on to NBC. Don't try to understand why. Just rev them engines and drive. Soon we'll be machine. Fuel them up, drive them out, jack them up, ride them hard. Rev them up. Moving on NASCAR. NASCAR's moving to NBC and TNT this July. Moving.
Point given, the Thoroughbred Corporation's homebred Thunder Gulch Colt has won the 126th Preakness. And now for the official Winner's Circle presentation, let's go to Bob Costas.
Tom, the